Okay, 3, 2, 1. We are live, people. Welcome in. The madness continues. The next two games on the REMINGTOM pod are the two most important games of the college basketball season. We've made it to the championships. The ladies are today, the men are tomorrow. And, I guess we got a lot going on right now, Chad. We've got the Final Four. We've got Ovechkin finally breaking the Gretzky record as well, too. But, still mere hours removed from the madness of last night's games between, of course, Houston and Duke is going to be the highlight, still going to be the trending topics of the day. But the game between Florida and Auburn was a classic game as well, too. Walter Clayton with a classic performance. And I really do think that it turned into one of the better Final Fours that we've had. Now, of course, the Final Four weekend, like we're saying, for the men's side, if we're just focusing on that for a second, the whole weekend as a whole, of course, we'll finish out Monday with the championship game. So will the 3-game total of it, how will that rank as a weekend compared to some of the Final Four weekends? But those two Final Four games, we might have to go back and look through some of the years, chat, but I can't imagine that we've had a more competitive, evenly matched up. And again, you go through, like, Florida at the end there pulled away a little bit, and Houston in that matchup against Duke as well, too. They had moments, of course, where they were trailing, and it looked like, it looked like Duke was really going to win the national. It looked like they were going to win the game. They were going to win the title. Cooper Flag. It looked like all the storylines were going to continue like we thought. But the drama, chat, we got the storylines. We got the star player performance. Like I said, Clayton, obviously the star of the day. Flag still had a good game. I know. We were talking about him. Has he ever had a bad game? I still don't know if that goes into bad game territory for Cooper Flag, though there are some tough moments. And, of course, questionable foul as well, too. But you also do get a very good look for Cooper Flag at the the mid free throw line. Even the fading to the side kind of stuff that he's doing in that last play is not necessarily the worst stuff in the world either, chat. So you still get an opportunity there to get the win. Or was it for the tie? I don't even remember the final score, chat. Who even knows? Because did they foul? They fouled right after that as well, too. And then a couple free throws probably put him over. But the chaos is just like it's still downloading in our brains, the games from last night and what actually happened. But yeah, again, I still think, and like we've referenced, the iconicness of that Final Four a decade ago where you had and who did Duke play? I forget who even Duke played in that Final Four matchup, chat. But of course you had the Kentucky-Wisconsin game that was iconic, and then a really great national championship between Duke and Wisconsin. So that's what I'm saying. The full weekend of that, unfortunately, like we're saying, we just don't remember who Duke was matched up against. I'm assuming a blue blood team. Was it like Kansas? Because Duke did play Kansas in a Final Four, but I think the one that I'm thinking of, is Bagley in the Grayson Allen team. But the Tyus Jones, Jaleel Okafor team, and has it. Oh, we're in Duke football chat. Manny Diaz, will he be coaching basketball soon? John Shire. I think the fans, of course, if you look big picture, and was it John Shire or was it really the GM? Like Sam was saying a lot. This team was really well constructed, and we have been, of course, giving Shire credit as a rising head coach in the landscape of college basketball. And tip-off is underway. South Carolina gets the first basket, chat. 3-0 South Carolina. I mean, again, we know the star players in the game maybe tend to be on the Uconn side, but the way South Carolina just fought in that last 3 quarters of that game was really, it's not like Uconn, of course, wasn't impressive. They were impressive right from the start against UCLA. But there was just something about the flip of the switch toughness that they had that was really impressive. Again, it's not breaking news on South Carolina, chat. It's just welcome to college basketball late in the season. And then, still them against the good teams, against the upper tier, because a lot of people have been focusing on the title, because Gino, he's played in 12. I didn't realize that he was 11-1 in titles, which is kind of crazy. I would have, the man, of course, has all those rings, but you just assume Uconn makes the title as well, too. If Gino had, like, 5 title losses in there. I mean, who cares? It's like, oh, okay, the man's been in, 15 titles. Paige Becker's with the shot. There we go, chat. 4-5. Do we IT has to take a shot every time Paige Becker's hits a shot. So hopefully we get a Paige Becker's 5. If the stream just starts getting chaotic and there's technical difficulties, who knows? Hopefully we're able to stay live. But if Paige Becker's goes for 50, just know it's because IT's, they're just passed out in the booth by the time we hit the third quarter. Maybe every time she logs a stat, anytime she adds to the box score, chat. So a field goal attempt, does that count? IT just has to take a shot. Maybe that's how it works. Maybe just they have to spin a wheel. Somebody in there has to take a shot every time they put up a stat. We should have been workshopping this before, but like I said, the chaos of the other Final Four games, it's and throughout the tournament, both sides, there's been a lot to keep up with in the moment. So, Paige Becker's drinking games, chat, college basketball drinking games for IT, we'll maybe have to work in some March Madness. It'll be March Madness for IT in the booth next year, as they just try to hold it together while they're taking shots at Jameson or something. Or do we need to get a sponsor? I guess we just need to start shouting out brands. If somebody wants to sponsor the IT, I guess, we got NBA playoffs on the horizon. If somebody wants to take a shot for a shot, if somebody wants to go shot for shot with IT in the playoffs, chat, that's the way we need to do it. Somebody out there, somebody that needs to, do we need to get Norman and Sam Morrell to give us some bodega cap for IT, chat? And then see if IT can go shot for shot with some of these great players in the NBA playoffs. Stay tuned. We'll workshop it. We'll start sliding. Be like, hey, can we get some bodega cap for our guys in the sound booth? But 8-7, maybe just another instant classic in the works here between two, of course, stalwart teams. But like we were saying, Gino has only one title loss in his entire career, and it was to Dawn Staley in South Carolina. And I think it was a pretty dominant performance by Staley as well, too. I don't remember exactly what that team was, so I guess we could look, chat. But just real quick to remind ourselves who they played in the Final Four game the last time they won the national title. It was, Michigan State, chat. Got them by 20. So, yeah, the Michigan State run is just to the Final Four is going to be just blocked out of our memory. But Gonzaga took down a 2-seed Gonzaga in the Elite Eight as well. But, yeah, to go check out what Gino did against Dawn Staley last time in the national championship, is it just a bad coaching matchup for Gino? Dawn Staley's able to just have his number. Let's see. It would be the year that he made the tournament. I guess it would just be easier to go to Uconn's page and find out that way. But again, that's been the focus of this match, is the rematch between Staley and Gino in the national title. But as we saw going through South Carolina's games in the season, leading up to that Texas matchup, they did play Uconn, I believe, earlier in the season, and I think Uconn got it pretty good. Again, we don't know necessarily the scope of that matchup, but regardless. So, yeah, that would have been a couple years ago. I'm trying to remember if this would have been Paige on the team in the game. There's been some injuries, chat, as well, too, that you have to consider. Only 17 games played that year. So did they make the national title without Paige? Gino pulling the team together. 8 points in the first quarter. South Carolina defense, insane. Able to bounce back a little bit in the second, but definitely locking back in for the rest of the game. And they did have Paige for this tournament run, chat. Only 14 points, so maybe she'll be out for revenge as well, too. Cardosa, Beal, Cook, Boston, Henderson, chat. I mean, this team was stacked. There's no chance that... with all due respect to this Uconn team. And this is just Paige Becker's and Aaliyah Edwards earlier on as well, too. AZ Fudd as well. Maybe a little... I mean, all these guys are, either freshmen or sophomore. So, I don't know exactly. Because Cardosa would have been a younger player. I mean, I think Beal and Cook might have been younger as well, too. But that's just a really stacked lineup to go against. And Henderson, maybe later in her career. as well. Yeah, she was a senior that year, third team All-American. So shout out. But UConn with the early lead, 15-11. Make it 13-15. So here we go, back and forth. It's going to be that type of game. Neither of these teams are going to necessarily let the other one get ahead. And in a couple of minutes, we're also going to have the NBA just said, we're just throwing a good game at you in the middle of the day for some reason. I don't know if we didn't check injury reports. Is everybody playing? Is Shea locked in? Is Luka and LeBron locked in? Because that's the matchup, chat. We've got Lakers versus Thunder in a little bit. NBA TV won't let us watch the Bulls game because unfortunately our couch is, I guess, it's located too close to the Bulls arena. So we have to get into the local broadcast and not the NBA TV one. But I guess if our couch was in a different spot, it would just be a different local broadcast that we wouldn't be able to watch. But again, do we need to go the VPN route and try to reroute it? We'll have to work on it somehow and see if we can figure it out. Because the Bulls, kind of fun to end the season this year. Josh Giddey. The post, and it's not, well, you can say it however you want. I'm just saying the lineup that they have been having post-Levine have been fun. But Sacramento has also been a playoff team with Levine after the De'Aaron Fox trade as well, too. Barely a playoff team, but still working their way in there. So, again, it's not necessarily a anti-Zach Levine point. It's just to say that they made that trade at one point in the season, and they've started playing well. So, you can either put two and two together, or you can just enjoy the Bulls season as it happens. Josh Giddey against the Lakers, of course, with the all-time half-court buzzer beater shot. But with the potential, see, the reason that I don't know, it's like, do they want to save it for the playoffs? We're so close to the end of the season here. There is a chance that, maybe these teams meet up at some point. I don't know if they're looking, it's not going to be like first round, but maybe, conference championship, maybe. Who knows? But there's definitely potential that they do see each other at some point in the playoffs. So do they want to get a good glimpse at the teams? Do the teams want to put them at, out there at full strength right before the playoffs? And do the teams kind of also, want to get a glimpse of the teams a little bit like that and have that last game? I'm sure that you do want to have that last game of tape and prep and all that stuff to be able to have for the playoffs. If in any kind of situation you need to be prepared for it. But do you want to risk, like I'm saying, the other version of that where you're putting this stuff on tape and you're having the good performance? Is this going to be, you still have Austin Reeves out there maybe? Could this be a classic Austin Reeves versus Case and Wallace showdown? We'll have to see. I'm not even going to spoil it, chat. There's no reason to check the injury report at this time. The game is 20 minutes away at this point. So who cares? We'll just be surprised. It's the fun of being a sports fan. They always say that, of course, with the trades. They're like, what if we don't announce the trades in the offseason? And then players, they just show up to the teams, which I think is, it's fun in theory. That single idea of just not knowing and just going, all of a sudden, whoa, this guy, wait a second, how did Luke end up on the Lakers? That would be crazy. You're like, wait, let's see who else goes out in the tunnel. And it'd be maybe a weird thing, the trade deadline happens, so they start sending guys out of the tunnel, and you're like, okay, wait a second, all the role players are still there? They're bringing out, okay, yeah, Reeves is still there, Hachimura's still there, Bronny, he's out of the tunnel, he's still there. LeBron, okay, he's out of the tunnel. Where's Davis? Wait, Luka out of the tunnel? It's Luka for, what's the trade? I don't see Christie. I don't see Hood Shafino. And I don't see, what was even the trade, Chad? Yeah, like I said, Davis. I was like, there had to be something else other than Davis. No, yeah, it was just Davis. But, yeah, in theory, that's crazy. But, crazy fun chaos to have happen. But I don't know if it's actually a realistic way to run the news of the league. But at least for the injuries sometimes, for the individual games. Now, if you're buying tickets, of course, that's not always an ideal thing. And if you don't have a national championship game between two iconic teams to have on the other screen to potentially balance out a poor NBA game, that might not always be the case on just a random regular season game. So it might not always be ideal to have your star players out. But at least for today, it'll be the fun of the surprise. Will we get the high-level Thunder versus Laker matchup? Luka and LeBron. Shea. Does he need... Because he doesn't need necessarily the MVP games. His case has been made. Like, it's... At this point, it is what it is. Like, Jokic can keep having the... He's had the historic performances, so... It's not like... I guess, yeah, I mean, if he has... like 4... I don't know how many games are actually left, like, really. But, if he has, like, 4 more 30, 20, 20 games to end the season, then it's like, well, I mean, what are you going to do at that point? I guess he swooped in and stole it with 5 games left. But you go, okay, are we voting for the guy that is clearly the best individual player of the league, or are we voting for the best player on the best team who's also having a historic season? But still, if we're doing the individual rankings, Jokic is just there. We have to put it what it is, Chad. Jokic is number 1 on that ranking. So, again, the cases are set out there for each player, and it seems like a large, it seems like enough of the media is pro Shea at this point for him to at least be favored to win the MVP and for that to seem like a realistic possibility. But you never know, Chad. And again, he is probably going to get, if Jokic gets the aggregate, the 2s, it is a little bit of the combining of all the votes. But I think Shea is still going to get the first place votes to win the thing. Shea's not going to get the third place votes. It's not going to be okay, if we vote Jokic 1, is Giannis going to be 2 now after the 30, 15, and 20 game? And then now Shea's going to be 3 after that. But, his aggregate will be high enough that he'll win the MVP as well. I mean, that's clearly the top 2 in the battle right now. So it does seem like that the Thunder's season, his rise, the efficiency, it's all there for him to win the MVP. And the fact that, Jokic does have 3 as well, too. I mean, that does play a factor into it. It's not like the man's struggling for MVPs. And LeBron has 4. Do we need to bring LeBron into the storylines, chat? We may have to. Can we get Jokic more MVPs than LeBron at this point? If LeBron makes it farther in the playoffs the year that Jokic ties him for MVPs, that would be, an interesting storyline. But I guess impact-wise, it's not that Jokic has actually impacted game. Because again, LeBron has 4 titles. Jokic does have 1 at this point. Like, there is a reason why we're doing the legacy rankings, and LeBron is still in the mix for greatest player of all time. And we can talk about Jokic offensively, but still the total career, total package of it, there's still a couple of guys that obviously, the man needs to ascend to past at this point. But the on-the-court impact stuff, the numbers, like we're saying, Jokic is obviously as impactful as any player in NBA history. But, so yeah, I guess if you just want to give Shea the MVP while Jokic is still that, then, that's fine, chap. But Uconn up 3 with less than a minute here to go in the first quarter. The beautiful, beautiful we're talking quarter setups, chat. We're talking the fact that they have 4 quarters instead of the 2 halves. Would Duke have won the game with 4 quarters? Who knows? Probably not. The way their offense fell apart in the last 10 minutes or so of that game. The way the pressure really ramped up at the end and they weren't able to get clean inbounds and Houston was able to get points off of turnovers. I don't know if 4 quarters would have helped Duke at that point, but maybe the pacing of the game would have helped them build their lead out. Maybe it would have helped them not necessarily fall off in the same way. Again, you still do get the built-in timeouts to potentially slow any momentum that's being built up by Houston, but who knows if a quarter break and then the way your timeouts just basically, like we're seeing the foul resets of it all as well too, how that ends up lining everything up. But it doesn't matter at this point, chat. It's Florida versus Houston. It's still iconic teams all the way around, historic teams all the way around. Oh, Beckers with the running bank shot. Uconn up 5. The 3 at the end of the quarter was, a potentially good look, Chad. But 5-point lead from the Huskies as we wrap up the first quarter action. So shout out to Paige. Shout out to the rest of the crew, chat. And you got Sarah Strong making play. Can we get a box score here? Let's see. Sarah Strong, of course, a great performance. in that final 4 game offensively. Fudd as well too, with a massive scoring game. And she is 3 for 4, 7 points so far. Strong 2 for 4. So the efficiency is still there with both of those players. 53% basically in the first quarter. 40%, 1 for 2 from 3. Uconn hasn't even hit a 3 yet in this game, chat. They've just been able to attack the rim. So, like we're saying, Texas wasn't able to continue to be able to keep that up for the entire game. But there was a moment there where it felt like, even especially with Booker before she had to go to the bench with the foul stuff, where it felt like their aggressiveness getting downhill, like we're saying with some of the way the South Carolina teams have been structured in the past, maybe that's just a difference here. Maybe Uconn is a team that can actually take advantage of that for an entire game, like the individual scoring of these players, with especially like we're saying the way that Fudd and Strong are playing. And Becker is still 2 for 6, but she's still able to at least keep the defense focused on her, and the performances are still strong. So it's everything you'd want in the first quarter, chat. I'm assuming that they were still the favorites going into this game, but I can't imagine it was by 5.5 points. Okay. So they definitely were. Again, this is basketball, not football, but definitely still getting a little bit of respect there from the odds makers as the superior team. And it's not going to give us the close on the money line, but they're minus 500 on the money line right now. So if you guys think that this is this, because like I said, this is the South Carolina recipe. So if you're thinking that Dawn Staley's gonna, which I'm not saying, I'm not making it as I'm saying that this is not gonna happen. It's just it's also Uconn and Paige Beckers. It's still even a step up from maybe that Texas team, and the odds of them actually making this type of run are, even a couple of percentage points lower. But if you still think that this is the South Carolina recipe for a successful win, then this is actually the perfect time to get it on the line, chat, because 3-1 on the money line was probably not that good to close the game. So they still haven't had the perfect 4-quarter performance yet in the championship or in the March Madness run, but they still have been able to pull it together through the courses of the games to be able to get these wins. So them having a great 3 quarters here and being able to still actually win this game again, it's 5 points. It's 2 shots, chat. It's not that disastrous yet for South Carolina, but Uconn is playing better as we end the quarter here. So you just hopefully things don't get out of hand. Maybe it's time to actually go over to Lakers Thunder. If the TV programming portion of it switches over to a different game, where it's like, okay, the Bulls game is still on, but it's supposedly in the Lakers time slot. Like, do we get to watch the Lakers game or the Bulls game at that point, the end of the Bulls game? I feel like I should know that at this point, chat. But let's see. Shout out John Travolta. I don't know if I want to say which Travolta movie is, but it's playing on cable, so Grease obviously still a classic, chat, but not saying every beat for every John Travolta movie is necessarily aged perfectly, but it doesn't matter. There's still, it does matter, but in terms of the movies still being, again, they're on cable, so some programmer, I guess maybe programmer executives aren't the ones to go to for but either way, we are in the spot where we can't actually watch NBA TV again, so we'll see here if the game is actually over or they just haven't quite started up yet in LA. But we do have the alternate broadcast on in the background as well too, so a little alternate broadcast inception this afternoon for the national championship game, and a bit of a biased broadcast as well too from the ESPN crew. Shout out, chat. We're not saying anything against it, Shout out to Bird. Shout out to Tarasi. It's a great combination. Like we said, we just like to watch crews that have fun, that get along, that are a good hang. I mean, Tarasi and Bird, seem like they get along, chat. Seem like they have a good time together. So the chemistry translating over into the broadcast, not necessarily the most surprising. But two Uconn players, I guess it's just the idea of watching two legends watch another legend from their team, potentially have one of those games, chat. Becker's next in line for Uconn greats. I mean, she's had every performance so far that you'd want from a Uconn star, except winning a national title game. And of course, the bar for a Uconn stars is like, do you have to win 3 national titles at least to be considered the best Uconn player ever? But for what she's doing offensively, at least to start the tournament, was pretty crazy. For what she has done in her career to carry the team as well too. They still have had amazing tournament runs with her as the lead player. Like we're saying, they were in the national title game. They've been in Final Fours. They're still at the end every year. And they're up by 9 right now to start the second quarter. But just to see their reactions to, her potentially cementing their greatness. Like, you can't necessarily pass up on that opportunity, Chad. Like, imagine just an alternate broadcast where it's like, okay, Magic Johnson and Shaq and Kareem are going to get together and watch Luka Doncic and LeBron play in the finals. It's like, okay, well, probably going to turn that on. With all due respect, like, even if it was a Van Gundy, Mark Jackson, Breen old school broadcast, chat, they might be getting pushed to the side for that one. If it was just because it's like, you have to watch the legends, watch the new legend emerge. But South Carolina's not going to go away. Dawn Staley, like we're saying, I guess maybe outside of Uconn earlier this year, has not necessarily been dominated in a lot of games. So them having a blowout performance, but you do get the 6-7 point. I mean, you get a 7-point victory every quarter, and then you're at nearly a 30-point margin by the end of the game. So it could be a slow grind for Uconn to get to that like blowout status later on in the game, if we're trending there, chat. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying, Dawn Staley letting that happen doesn't seem like necessarily a Uconn strategy. But do they have, and not that Uconn has hitting their 3-pointers in that first quarter, but do they have the perimeter offense to be able to keep up with Uconn in the same kind of way? The ball movement, getting the cutter into the lane, is just as effective. Maybe you don't even need the 3-pointers. Oh. IT, get us a Red Bull. What's going on here? But Becker's going right now. She's just getting to that spot every time, pick and roll, getting to that side of the court, and she can operate, chat. I mean, Becker's a star player getting to response, but South Carolina, I mean, make her go left. Dawn Staley, what are we doing? I mean, can we do anything you game plan for in a basketball court, chat? I guess that is the problem. But if we just got to start overcommitting to that, you don't want to have to put yourself into are the other players going to beat us? Because again, they've been so good the last couple games in the tournament as well too, and still playing well to start this game. It would just be a tough spot to put yourself in because they're still kind of star players in their own right, chat. But Paige going left draws the foul. So it's again, are you gonna stop Paige going right, going left? Probably doesn't matter. But and Dawn Staley is livid right now, chat. Does she need the technical foul for her team? She might. They're turning the ball over. They're a little, the coaches aren't even. They're weak attempts right now to get her to calm down. Just like, hey, and you can see why it's a bit of a touchy foul call, chat. I don't know if the Uconn legends agree with the call, but whoa, chat. IT finally decided to turn on the sound, I guess. Can we get it set properly? Maybe? Oh, there we go, chat. Bet. Oh, wait, are we in the wrong game? Shout out to Thunder Lakers. Gonna be a classic. And it looks like we're getting everybody, at least on the Lakers side. Did we get everybody on the Thunder side? Yeah, we got everybody for the Thunder, chat, so we're gonna get 2 good games here in the background for a little bit on the REMINGTOM pod. But we actually need to make sure to get the primetime game in the primetime slot here. Oh, man, technical difficulties. IT, worse than Duke in the final minutes. Collapsing when you need it most. We're just trying to get the sound set properly. Testing 1, 2, 3. IT, it's not this hard. Pause. Hey, yo! Whoa! 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 Okay, there we go. Finally. Shout out. Just trying to hear Sue Bird's takes. Okay. But, you know, we got a couple Jackson Hayes highlights as well, too, if we have to, I guess. It's not necessarily the... You know, it's Jackson Hayes versus Sue Bird right now, chat. I think we know which one's going to get the spot on the speaker system. But still, you know, the Lakers got to keep an eye. Thunder up 4-2. And really just got to keep an eye to see what the degrees of separation are, because... You know, the Lakers have had some games against some other Western Conference opponents where you're looking at it going, okay, what is the level of them in a actual full playoff scenario? You know, they're obviously a tough team. A series is the game-to-game of a series. You know, we've seen the LeBron Davis Lakers teams take, feels like that 7-game format has definitely been something that has lend us to favor them against some teams. So then back in that setting, with Luka now in that spot instead of Davis, you know, maybe they're still just as a dangerous team, but do they have enough against some of these more defensive-minded teams, Chad, to be able to lock in and win a series? Luka stepped back in the face of the Thunder, and that might be the thing is Luka, you know, against the Thunder last year in the playoffs on the Mavs, you know, maybe it's a bet just if we're looking the opposite side of it, the Luka Doncic side of it. Luka has a better supporting cast, maybe, and he also torched the Thunder last year. You know, better coach, better system. The Mavs were a really good team last year. Jason Kidd's a really good coach, so it's not saying anything bad about the Mavs, but just I mean now he's playing with LeBron. Reeves has taken even a bigger step up. You know, Hachimura, and there's definitely still some holes in the roster, but. Some, I mean, you know, really star-level players to surround him with. Luka is now just talking to Dagnall on the free throws, chat. I mean, I feel like the Luka Doncic smack talk has, and Luka's always been one of the chippiest players in the league. I mean, chippies, you know, a nice way to put it, chat. Like, you know, he's always been one of the more fired-up players in the league. But there is an extra swagger to him in LA right now, and. I feel like it's even carrying over into LeBron a little bit. There was some audio clips, and was it that Warriors game that I'm thinking of, chat, where, you know, Steph and Butler and Pods and the Warriors were just able to pull away from him in the second half there. But there were some mic'd up moments between Quentin Post and Luka Doncic and LeBron and Draymond, and it's like, and again, LeBron's not afraid to talk about these guys in the game as well too. I mean, all these players will talk, but. The directness, like going right at Draymond again. Draymond kind of publicly one of his guys, so you know, I mean, LeBron's gonna take a stand for his team, especially, you know, right now. Make no mistake, the internet's very pro Luka. I don't know, probably a little more pro Luka than they are pro Draymond. So LeBron will side with the internet, but shout out LeBron, but he's playing a game right now, so hopefully he won't hear this. But hey, I feel like. The energy of the team is gonna maybe take a little bit of shape of what Doncic can bring there a little bit. And maybe, hopefully the team doesn't take a full Doncic shape, chat, pause, but maybe the fired upness and the chippiness, like we're saying, the smack talk. So immediately just in the ear of Mark Daigneault, pretty crazy. Getting in front of Shea, well, for a little bit, but not much. Okay, chat, we've got a national title game going on. Strong on the inside. Fouled by South Carolina. So they fouled and they've turned over a little bit. And Jalen Suggs is back in the arena for one of these college basketball games. And is it Uconn or is it South Carolina that he's been pulling up to, chat? We're seeing the Instagram's post about it. Was it Paige? Jalen Suggs, who are you talking to for one of these games? As a nice way to put it, chat. Jalen Suggs, what's going on? He's just popping on to the Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi alternate broadcast. But again, he's here for some of these big games, these big matchups. Oh, was it maybe it was Juju? Maybe he was at one of those early tournament Juju Watkins games, chat. I don't remember. I don't know. Was it? Yeah, I guess we don't want to start making allegations and pairings that aren't really in existence, chat, or giving guys any ideas. But that game is in timeout right now, so I guess we just have to be focused on Lakers Thunder, and the Lakers have taken the lead, 16-13. So I guess a Lakers win is on the table as well, too. I mean, Thunder at home, Chet. You assume the 64-win team with the way they play. Chet taking LeBron off the dribble. Unfortunately, in LeBron's career, that's just a bad matchup at this point. LeBron out on the corner against a good creator. Oh, Reeves stripped by the Thunder defense. Dort in transition. Shea attacking LeBron. Oh! Shea missing the layup. He's been in the, too much time in filming the Nokia video, chat. Oh, and then giving up the 3 to Dorian Finney-Smith on defense. Mark Daigneault says, take a timeout. Shea! What are we doing? We can't be in a music video right before the playoffs. What are we hanging out with Drake for? We're trying to win the title. Go hang out with Kendrick. Shea, get in the winner's circle. Are we picking the Lakers now in the Western Conference because LeBron was at the pop-out and Shea was in the Nokia music video? I am not going to lie, Chad. And again, I know that there's a lot of Jokic propaganda on this show. Make no mistake. I think there may be a couple of reasons why the leagues won't give us votes, chat, but one of them is because we're going to vote for Jokic this year. And it does, like we're saying, seem like a Shea, Thunder, let's set up the next generation of the league type year. Let's make sure to get some of these star players going. And the Suggs Final Four buzzer beater against UCLA, and that UCLA team that broke our hearts against Michigan by taking down Michigan and then immediately lost to Suggs and Gonzaga the next game. Because we kind of like that UCLA team as well. But of course, Sam is always pro Jalen Suggs. He really likes that Gonzaga team. So the pod in general still had good vibes in that tournament and then Suggs just got eliminated in the tournament later on. But it is Paige, chat. Suggs and Paige. Wait, are they friends or is this like official stuff? What's going on, chat? Do we need to just make sure we're keeping up with all the important basketball news? It's really what it is, chat. These are two, important basketball players. Suggs, the Magic, looked like a formidable Eastern Conference team when Suggs was in the lineup. And, of course, Paige is potentially about to win the national title here at Uconn and solidify one of the great college basketball careers. So, again, we're just trying to make sure that we're keeping up with all the news. Journalistic integrity, chat, it's very important. They say journalism is dying, and you don't know who to trust. So that's why the REMINGTOM pod is going to get the inside scoop on Jalen Suggs and Paige Beckers, I guess. Hey, yo, Chad. But it does seem like our attempts maybe to slide in the Paige Beckers DMs and congratulate her for the national championship, they may just have to be as a fan, Chad. It is what it is. It may just have to be a, congratulations professionally. Congratulations professionally. Team USA, chat? Is there a theme? I don't think they were Team USA like Olympics, but there's been some other Team USA relationships that have emerged recently. I don't know what because Team USA sucks. That might go back to like some of the under 17. I guess I don't know where this conversation is going, but I don't know like when Suggs has been on Team USA recently. Maybe some of the camps and stuff as well too. You get those Team USA camps together, and they can, you can bring 50 plus guys into a Team USA camp to start potentially 35-ish. Plus, you've got multiple teams working. Like say, you got both sides of the Team USA going in whatever arena that your facilities that you're training in pre all these events. So I guess he could have been, this past Olympics in one of the Team USA teams, just in his own Team USA. If we're just talking Jalen Suggs Team USA time right now, he could have potentially been on one of those teams, but I don't remember exactly. And that looked a bit of a grainy photo, chat, but either way, Lakers versus Thunder. Okay, are we just now? We just have to ride out the pause, but we just gotta not pay attention to Jalen Suggs for a while, and then watch Lakers versus Thunder. When's Austin Reeves? I feel like he could have already been in celebrity territory, but maybe the celebrity territory that Austin Reeves is in is going up, chat. I don't know, 20 points a game. I don't know what that unlocks, chat, but for Austin Reeves in LA, star player. Austin Reeves, I feel like you just need to go outside a little bit more. And maybe Austin Reeves is, maybe he just moves in silence, chat. Maybe it is what it is, but we don't get the paparazzi photos of Austin Reeves. Oh, the outlet pass to LeBron? Chet. Oh, LeBron. Okay, they give him the foul. Oh, is that offensive foul? LeBron looks upset. Redick looks confused. I don't think he's going to challenge. LeBron might tell him he's going to take his executive producer tag off the pod if he doesn't challenge. But what are they calling here? LeBron was flying into the rim around 3 defenders. And honestly, I guess you could always call foul in some way when a guy's going. But, it looked pretty good, pretty clean. There wasn't a ton of contact either way, so I don't really know where the foul is, Lakers or Thunder, to be honest. But as the second quarter wraps up here, chat, Uconn up 8 by 33 to 25. So they've still managed to keep them a little bit of distance here in the second quarter. And like we're saying, they're building that lead a little bit. It's not going to maybe be, like a 30, 25 point lead, but it could be in that 12 to 15 point range by the end of the game. Maybe they just, 10 to 12, but they are slowly, still managing to just outpace South Carolina here. And South Carolina is just going to need that couple of buckets. And I feel like, we'd have to go back and remember the box score from even a couple of games ago, chat. But, Joyce Edwards was really good off the bench for him again in that Final Four game, if I remember correctly. And again, it was that bench in that second quarter. They turned the tide of the game, and they didn't look back, and they really dominated Texas. But the second quarter, the subs, the depth, chat, it's just Uconn is able to match. Strong with a double-double almost in the first half. She's got 8 points, 11 rebounds. Just absolutely killing on the interior right now. The pick and roll handoff to Paige. The corner 3, chat. The offense is crisp for Uconn right now. The ball movement, they extend the lead to 10. Oh, Uconn! They get the they almost get the steal at the end of the second quarter, but not quite. At least they'll force South Carolina to get a quick look here with 1.5 seconds left. It's Kitts falling away. Was that Kitts or was that Johnson, Chad? Just the falling away from the baseline. So there we go. Uconn is up at the half, chat. Shout out to Paige Becker. Shout out to Gino. The Uconn title drought. I don't know what can be considered a title drought. I don't know if the title drought is your own expectations of a organization versus what you're actually winning, or if it is just the general sort of rule of thumb math for everybody. Like, you know, the Wizards are in a title drought right now, but, you know, do we expect the Wizards to ever get out of a title drought right now? You know, are they ever going to turn it around? So it's just like, it's a title, it's more of a title desert, you know? They just kind of live in a title desert. It's just title global disaster for Washington. So it's like, okay, we really know that they're just title Mars, chat. There's no hope. I guess, you know, is Elon going to get, you know, Elon's probably going to get mad about a couple things we say on this pod, chat, but, you know, are the science people going to get mad about us saying that Mars has no life? I'm just saying, you know, right now, it's a bit inhospitable at the moment. I don't think that's necessarily a hot take, but is Wizards the Mars equivalent of NBA franchises? As I was saying, you want Cooper Flagg to be Matt Damon in the Marsh? Is he? I guess it's the Martian. I was about to ask if it was on Mars or the moon, and it's like, wait a second, just think for a second. What's the title of the movie? So yeah, is he just gonna be Matt Damon in Washington, just all by himself? You know, what's he gonna have to do to sustain himself on the Wizards, chat? It could be desperate times for Cooper Flagg, but maybe that was part of the play. The refs, they're like, college basketball's like, we need Cooper Flagg back one more year. If we get him to the Final Four but don't quite get him a national title, is that enough to convince him to be back? But also, again, him being in an iconic national, you know, Final Four game, him being in the Final Four is still really good for all the ratings and all that stuff. And like I said, you know, Sam is now just out of the national championship game. He's going to have, I guess he's free for other plans on Monday night. So you can find Sam at some restaurant in the Bay Area, or I guess, you know, not, you can find the man out in the Bay, I guess, somewhere. Make no mistake, he's going to be, if there's a place with no TVs in the Bay that serves really good food, then that's where Sam will be Monday, because he's not watching Houston versus Florida in the national championship. Or he's going to go in and he's going to, like, request the NBA game or some other games. I mean, is there even going to be other games? I mean, is that crazy? The NBA just like, okay, take a day off for the national title. We always think the NBA is running from these other sporting events, but let's be honest, it's all but it's all a trickle-down effect, chat. I mean, everybody wants to take a day off for the NBA. The league owners and the executives, they all want to get mad about people not showing up for games, and obviously we understand for the almighty dollar, but make no mistake, if they could potentially schedule no games on, why are we having technical difficulties, Chad? What's going on here? This doesn't make any sense. It's 2025. Okay. For tomorrow, yeah, there's only 2 games on the schedule tomorrow, and they're both at 6. And it's Pistons versus Kings and Sixers versus Heat. And then when's the last day of NBA regular season games? Is it the 13th? It's the 13th. It's next Sunday. So this will be the last week of NBA action, the last full week, chat. Sunday will be wrapping up the regular season. We'll be, you know, I guess having to actually make official decisions on MVPs and all NBAs and all that stuff. I guess we'll have to be making our official, unofficial decisions. But whatever those end up being, you know, stay tuned this week, chat. It's going to be a hot week on the REMINGTOM pod for end of season NBA takes, end of season overreactions, the Cooper Flagg sweepstakes about to heat up, and the draft is right around the corner too. I mean, March Madness has been, again, I know, not chaotic, but it's been still pretty fun to follow and keeping us entertained. And it's like, wait a second, just a time warp right to almost NFL draft time. Shador Sanders, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter. The conversations are heating up. What's going to happen? So, I mean, just in general, chat. The REMINGTOM Pod YouTube is the place to be. Make no mistake. But there's just a lot of fun stuff happening that is going to be making the REMINGTOM Pod a lot more fun to follow along with as well, too. So, like I'm saying, it's just going to be April, a fun month, chat. Definitely a lot of sporting events. And, you know, the college as well, too, is going to help that just overall aspect of the sporting scene. But the Lakers up 7 right now. Caruso on Doncic, but Doncic can just go to the fade. He missed it, but I mean, Doncic, that little baseline one-legged fadeaway, you don't necessarily feel. I mean, you know, what shots are you gonna feel bad about Luka Doncic taking? But if he gets into that look with patience and he sets it up, like if he, you know, of course, sets it up properly, it's a good look. It's when the Doncic starts getting into the rushing threes and start, you know, jacking up three-pointers and tough mid-range. So it's Case and Wallace's turn. Now Doncic just lowers his shoulder, chat. 2 dribbles right into the paint. Over the top. Who gets Doncic next? Is this the Dognaw strategy? Just, okay, your turn, your turn, your turn. Just let Doncic torch us. But this is what happened in the playoffs, chat, last year. Doncic kicking out to the three-pointers and his dominance was enough to get past them. It's Kendrick Williams, and it's and one for Luka Doncic. Oh boy, people. The first quarter from Doncic is tearing apart the Thunder. It was Case and Wallace, actually, with the help that got the foul. But they've gone to Kendrick Williams. It might have to be Kendrick Williams, honestly. If you just think the size, pause. The fouls. You're going to have to get Ousmane Dieng on some serious steroids if he's going to be a possibility in the series for Doncic. So, just for if we're going through the options, chat. I mean, of course, Jalen Williams. If we're like really getting crunch time in the playoffs. But maybe the other Jalen Williams as well, too. Center Jalen Williams if things really go south. But Caruso and Wallace is... For as good of wing defenders as they can be, you know, Doncic is one of those physical wings that there's just not a lot that you can do, chat. You know, I was going to say, like, Edwards is like a physical specimen, so, you know, he's not really like a containable person, but just the... And he can, of course, he's got the strength, so he can lower his shoulder and definitely attack, but there's just... Doncic has that... The momentum with the size is a little bit of a different thing. And Vincent, again, just another playoff guy, chat. I mean, you can kind of see, and Finney Smith as well, too. Just, I guess, not on that Mavs team last year, but former Luka Doncic teammate in the past anyways. So if you're going, you know, I guess, and this is kind of what they have right now, but LeBron, Finney Smith, and Luka in the front court, so kind of LeBron center. And that's where Hartenstein's going to be an interesting matchup in a potential series as well, too, because maybe his true centerness against LeBron is a tough matchup for LeBron on, you know, the glass, and maybe the physicality of that is a bummer, but LeBron offensively is maybe able to take advantage of that as well, too, and the Lakers are up 11. In OKC, as the first quarter wraps up, they've hit a couple of threes here. Chet responds. A big corner wing three from the Thunder forward. But if they the Lakers go with that smaller front court lineup like this, then and do they have? Is that Vanderbilt in there as well too? So Finney Smith, Vanderbilt, and Doncic. And Vincent to end the first quarter. I guess we're not into the half here, but we're still a little mini college basketball brain. But still, to end the quarter, no Reeves. So it's a little bit more of a defensive lineup with Vincent in there. And obviously, for as good as Reeves have been offensively, in this type of, I guess, you know, if we're getting the lineups out there tonight in a full way, like this is kind of an early, I guess it's not playoff, but do we consider this a play-in game, chat? Is this like an early play-in game level competition? But in these type of matchups where it's really just, okay, the only thing that matters is getting the win. We're not strategizing. We're not, we're not overthinking it. We're just going to stick to our guns and we're going to do what we do best. And if we have lineups that are working, those are the ones that we're going to throw out there. Like the Doncic, just pick your poison. He can attack and manipulate. That's the part in the playoffs where, where that the conversation is always, what does that look like with that heliocentric guy leading the team? Like, how far can that go? I mean, we see Doncic make the title. We saw Harden make conference championships. We saw Harden feel like he could win the title if it was more for the performances themselves. Because that's the thing with Harden that gets lost, is we look at the Harden style of play. And again, this shout out James Harden, man. It's pro Harden pod, but a pro Harden pod. That's a pause, Chad. Hey yo, but I don't know if it's necessarily wrong, but you look at his playoff performances and the style of play can get a bad rap from kind of the way the box scores looked. And again, it's not even just Harden. Like, those Rockets teams, unfortunately, just the couple of games in there, you're like, you probably wish you could go back and redo those if you were the Rockets players. But still, the legacy of what those teams are, they were teams that made very, very successful playoff runs and were very, very successful teams. So, again, shout out to Simmons, but and I guess we steal enough of his takes to disagree with a couple of them, but to just wonder what that style, and I guess not to wonder what that style of play, but to think that style of play is not that I don't think that's like Charles Barkley not thinking that 3-pointers can win the title, because again, it's a type of player more so than it still is a type of basketball, but it involves three, like a Helios. I guess a ball hog could be timeless, chat, but just all offense sort of revolving around one person. It could have been a post player back in the day, but now it's a perimeter player in this pick and roll type stuff. And I guess the questions of the reliance on one guy is always the type of thing. But again, in the playoffs, like with Harden, where it's just, it doesn't matter who you put on him, the way you can space the court out and then giving him the ability to attack one-on-one is a really tough thing to do. And again, you start getting into the parts with Harden that were so incredible, was his ability to be able to just constantly do it over the course of these regular seasons, and he would be out there for as many games as anybody. And for his stretch in Houston there, was as durable as anybody in the regular season. But again, once we got into the playoffs, what did the percentages actually look like? But Doncic, through the Western Conference portion of it, was able to actually end up having the games, chat. And if the Thunder, it doesn't matter who they put on him, he can just pick them apart. And then, there's Reeves in the corner, there's Finney-Smith in the corner, there's Vincent, there's LeBron James, not just in the corner, but LeBron out, secondary quote unquote secondary handler, cutter around the rim, just whatever you need LeBron to be on certain possessions. He can, at this point, just find himself in wherever and just make himself useful. I don't even know if they're in the. I don't know if they ever were like a run plays for. I guess at the end of the games, your LeBron play if you have to, but he's just calling his own number or whatever. But he's in that almost just quote unquote you don't have to run a play for him territory. And he gets his IQ, like he's just running plays probably just naturally. He just moves in plays. Like if we watched like footage of him in a grocery store, we could probably diagram it and be like, oh, that's like a floppy. Like I don't know what the proper sets for LeBron would be, but it's like the way LeBron moved through Target, it's like he just is walking in a horns pattern. But I mean, the IQ stuff with him is so high at this point, but I mean, I guess that's part of it. Some guys maybe a guy like Dennis Rodman, it's like, would we give him the basketball IQ label? And I get thinking that goes with like an assisting playmaking aspect of it, but basketball IQ, it runs in many aspects, chat. And the ability to be able to just find yourself to be able to get yourself in the right areas of the court at the right time is basketball IQ. And a guy like Rodman had insane to get there quicker than anybody else. And, he'll just run through, pause anybody else that is in his way. But his ability to be able to read rebounds and to be able to know how to get these looks and to be able to get the boards is basketball IQ. So it's that's the type of guy where you're more like, okay, you don't have to run a play for Rodman. Like, you just put Rodman out there, and he's going to get rebounds and play defense and just be an impactful guy. And if you get him a pass around the rim every now and then, pause. You know, if it's like, oh, MJ bail out to Rodman, here's the dunk every now and then. You know, Rodman can take his 8 to 12 points a game and be fine. LeBron is like the ultimate version of you don't have to run a play for this guy. I guess Jokic is kind of in that term. I guess like even Luka, like, are you running Luka plays or are you running like a Luka offense? You know, necessarily. Like, is Jokic running plays or is Jokic just running an offense? But LeBron, because like we're saying, Luka is running the offense. LeBron is just in that role of, I'm going to be around the rim here. I'm going to be on the corner here. Now it's my post. Like, here's the post up for LeBron, and Luka's off the court at this point. So this will be interesting minutes as well, too. They have a 15-point lead without Luka Doncic in the game. So, you know, LeBron and Reeves and Connect is still a lot of offense. LeBron and Reeves, anyway. Hopefully Connect is still a lot of offense without him out there. Connect versus the Thunder defense, you know. I guess who knows how much offense he's able to generate. But it's a different thing for LeBron. He's not the same, at least at this point in his career, the one-on-one type guy. He is, but it is a different type of toll where he's having to really get to the rim and probably get more free throws and just really try to get to the basket every single time. And again, the fadeaway stuff, like he's a little more, I guess we don't want to call him heat checky from the perimeter. He's been very, very efficient this year. But it does feel like there are times where it's like, you know, he hits 4 in a row, then he might miss 3, then it's like he's back a couple more little stretches, you know, kind of each way. Oh, the back cut pass to Connect was defended great by Caruso. Great look by LeBron. LeBron also is a guy that we will say great look to if he has a turnover. It's just what it is. We're not paid, but we were born, you know, a couple of years before LeBron was drafted into the NBA. So we grew up watching LeBron. So LeBron doesn't have to pay us to be biased. We just will be biased, chat. It is what it is. The three-pointer for the Lakers. They're going to push this lead to 20, chat. And I don't know if the Thunder have necessarily, you know, if we get to be like, oh, is this a peak Thunder game? But we've got basically everybody for the Thunder out there. Again, they haven't, I don't know what we haven't seen Hartenstein in a second chance. I don't know what the foul situation is for Hartenstein at the moment. Or did he tweak an ankle? What's going on? But, or I just was watching, it's like unfortunately Hartenstein only plays when the Uconn South Carolina game is not in timeout. But they haven't tried it. You know, do you want Hartenstein being in the switches with Luka and all that stuff? And there's LeBron for 3. I mean, yeah, LeBron will be fine without Luka. I'm pretty sure, Chad. I'm pretty sure. So the Lakers, a dominant 20-point lead right now with 9 minutes left in the second. I mean, could the Thunder with their three-point shooting and energy and defense make a comeback here? And again, 9 minutes left in the second. Like, I feel like this is a perfect sort of, oh, the Thunder made a comeback against the Lakers for Instagram post later. Still, like, plenty of time in the game, but enough time where you also feel like, okay, the first half is, you know, second quarter, first half, we ride that out. If we're still down 20-ish, is the second half even worth it at this point? We're the Thunder. We have 64 wins. Like, are you at the borderline? Are you at the point in the game where you have to make a decision? Maybe not the second quarter, but it's like, do you want to win this game? Or are we just going, hey, we don't have it right now, and we're not trying to put too much out on tape versus the Lakers, and we're just going to try to get through the rest of this regular season with our one spot and get to the playoffs totally healthy. We'll see what ends up happening here, what kind of dig deep effort they end up giving. But Uconn is up 12, making 10. Kids on the interior. 28-38. So here we go, chat. Second half underway. Kit's, unfortunately, so far 3 for 10 in the game. Her scoring has been a consistent effort through a large part of the tournament that they have really relied on. So is that Strong that's been playing defense? I mean, I'm sure it's been different matchups, chat, but The interior for Uconn has just been holding up really solid. And the double this time, they left Raven Johnson in the corner and doubled off of her, champ. But they're not going to let South Carolina get easy looks. What was South Carolina's three-point percentage on the year? Do we look at that 7 minutes left in the third quarter? Is it officially time to check a stat and see what was going on before we actually have an opinion? Is it time to have an informed opinion? Oh, excuse me, chat. Is it time to have an informed opinion about this stuff with 7 minutes to go in the third quarter of the national championship game? It might be, but they were 62 in the country, 62nd in the country in three-point percentage this year, 34.2%. So again, maybe not like an elite three-point shooting team, but you definitely wouldn't say they're a bad three-point shooting team. And again, you go, I guess, in the scale of the tournament, if it's the top 64 teams of the tournament, are they the second worst shooting three-point team in the tournament? I guess there is a way to look at that. But again, that's just not the way it's going to be ranked. There are going to be teams in the tournament that are way more down the ranking. So I'm assuming they got to be at least, they're probably at least in the upper half, if not upper two-thirds. Are they a bottom third three-point shooting team in the tournament? But regardless, it's just enough to be able to say, hey, that could be the aspect of the game that will try to just take away all the interior stuff, the doubles, the energy, and just make sure that if they have an impressive three-point shooting game, then I guess we could just try to button down and play the one-on-one defense again. Because, again, we're talking about them swarming, them actually trying to create turnovers and really trying to pressure these offensive players when they get into the post. Like, that is what they're able to do if they're doubling off all this stuff. But we got a couple of dominant performances, I guess, chat. Two games that both need a Red Bull to get the scores up a little bit. I guess Uconn and LA, chat, pause both up, but and Wiggins, is that the Red Bull for the Thunder, chat? Aaron Wiggins, was he top 3 in scoring for the team this year? Microwave off the bench, valuable role guy. He could definitely have I see a couple of 20-point games in Aaron. I see Aaron Wiggins as chat. I was gonna say it, but I just thought of something that might be. Stay tuned. It might be something that we do this week or maybe next week in preparation for the playoffs. Chat, we're just planning out the next couple of weeks. It is what it is. But I thought of something, and I feel like, I guess we thought of it in the Aaron Wiggins segment, so that's a little bit of a spoiler in a way. But that's all the hints I'll give. Because Aaron Wiggins is, like I'm saying, a spoiler, so it's either going to be an Aaron Wiggins segment or a segment with Aaron Wiggins as a big feature piece of it. But at least we won't reveal what the bit is at this point. We'll workshop it a little bit. No spoilers this time, chat. You'll just have to stay tuned and see what happens. But South Carolina maybe getting to the free throw line. They're at the free throw line a little bit right now as well, too. You know, that slowing the game down, of course, could definitely help make up for any type of three-point shooting that could not happen as well, too, in an attempt to make a comeback. You know, I think they get him to go here as well, so got to make sure that you have your successful trips to the line. But now you've got Jalen Williams on Reeves with Wallace on Doncic, and I guess I looked over. I don't know if that was post a switch, chat. But it seemed like, Chet. So Chet might be the matchup problem on offense for the Lakers, is do they have the forward to match up with Chet in the way that you want to? Because you are going to have, it's not like you have a ton of perimeter defenders, and especially, again, if you have Reeves out there, that is a tough defensive backcourt matchup of, you know, you're going to say Doncic and Reeves offensively, but if it's Vincent and Reeves defensively versus Shea and Jalen Williams. So Shea and Jalen on offense, Reeves and Vincent on defense. That's just a tough spot for the Lakers to be in. Fudd with 19 points, chat. UConn up 16. Uh-oh. The third quarter. And like we're saying, as the game gets on, maybe it is starting to get out of hand. The dominance. It's just slowly they start to build the lead, chat. And pretty soon we could be looking at 20 points. We could be looking at dominance. I don't know how early. Of course, we're not going to start celebrating 5.5 minutes left in the third quarter if you're UConn. But, well, maybe if you're UConn, you're more irrational and confident in the team. But if you're just trying to be a emotionally intelligent UConn fan about it, it's maybe a little bit too early to start, popping the confetti. If you're saving, maybe you were growing a championship beard and you were saving the shave. But if you were saving, like, that champagne pop for right when you think that they're going to win the national title, I don't know if I would quite open the bottle yet. It is a 13-point game with 5.5 minutes, but I would feel really, really good. Would I start getting it out and maybe start, like, prepping it? Make sure I find the proper, little bottle opener and whole setup, and maybe start getting the glasses out. And I guess we said champagne, not wine, so, like, I don't know what the process is for getting all these drinks ready. But I was seeing on the algo, this wasn't, like, super recent, but maybe a couple months ago, there was a stretch where I was getting this guy in the algo that was, is decanting the right word, Chad? I think it's decanting. And I don't even really know what that process is exactly, Chad. I mean, who knows? I feel like I just open up a bottle and start drinking it. I start having to pour it through wine cloths and stuff, and, taking whiffs and pause and all this stuff. Like, I don't know if my process would be totally locked in as a non-expert, but I was getting this guy that was doing all these, like, fancy wine bottle decantings for this fancy restaurant in Vegas, and these, like, oh, we've only got one bottle left of this 1978 this. There's a couple where you're like, one bottle of the 2002, and you're like, okay, it is, that was 20 some years ago at this point. Like, it's been in the cellar for a little bit, but still, it is nice to have the 19s on there, not to make the people from the 19s feel old. And I mean, I guess it's nice to have the ones, I guess, maybe that make us all feel really old. I didn't see him open up any, like, maybe I think maybe the oldest he opened up was like a 1970 or something like that. So maybe people just don't let the bottles age that long, chat. The people at this restaurant, the bottles are just flying off the shelves. But I guess they're not storing them at the restaurant to age like that, right? Or they're in the wines. I don't really know the whole process, chat. It's crazy. I mean, I guess I could ask, around I should probably just be more tuned into what our own restaurant's process is for that. But since I don't need to know it, it's not information that I've kept stored in the brain. But it's not like there's an obvious, I guess there is an obvious cooler part. But again, the people, I guess in our setup, the people do go through it quickly enough where if there is like a bigger, cellar situation not in our real estate. I don't think there's a secret wine cellar stash in the basement of this, place in the middle of downtown. But if there, just in hypothetically, if a restaurant did have that type, it would maybe, I guess, a restaurant on a vineyard, but that's a totally different thing, Chad. I think, that's the point of that experience, I think. So, but anyways, I guess I don't know if you'd start, I guess, again, you're not decanting your champagne, Chad. Jesus. That's how you just know, Chad, that that's just straight trash right there. It's like, wait a second. You don't even know what the right process is. But, have you ever seen a championship video? Imagine it's like, no, you can't pop the champagne. Get the cheesecloth. Luka Doncic, don't get the goggles. Get the cheesecloth. But maybe this LeBron team, I guess if Luka was if this was all, like, more veterans, there is probably an NBA team you could assemble where, and I guess just the energy and adrenaline of winning an NBA title, like, it's going to be pretty fun. The Lakers are 12 for 15 from 3 right now. So, honestly, if you're the Thunder, you throw this out. You throw the tape out. You're like, I guess the Lakers can shoot threes if they're in some situations. But that's what happened with the Mavs last year. They got hot from 3. That's part of making a playoff run, playing well, chat. Guess what? Sometimes teams get hot and play well in the playoffs. A Lakers team full of good players getting hot and playing well in the playoffs wouldn't necessarily be all that surprising. But I think you could literally assemble, again, shout out to Simmons trying to assemble wine bottle teams where it's best years for best players. Like, instead of just taking a whole player's career, do you want which year for LeBron is the best year? But like, I think our version of the wine bottle team is which players would celebrate the championship by opening bottles of wine instead of champagne. LeBron could be on that list. I think Boris Diaw is on that list. Obviously, a iconic espresso guy. Had his espresso machine in the locker maker, but I feel like the espresso to wine crossover, I feel like that's all similar people. Like, if you went to a wine tasting and then one day and then went to an espresso tasting the next day, like, if it's the same neighborhood, there's a very good chance that you could run into the same person there 2 days in a row. And has anybody ever been to an espresso tasting, chat? But again, I said espresso tasting, and it makes sense. It feels like espresso, and maybe barista like high-end coffee culture. I guess it's high-end drink culture in general. But again, a different kind. Well, caffeine, chat. Is it addictive like wine? Who knows? We start really getting into the weeds. But hey, yo, chat. But in terms of the designer culture around both of those products, it does feel like they're definitely very similar things. So those are the top 2 names that I definitely would think of for if the team just wanted to casually pour some glasses of wine to win a title instead of popping the champagne. I feel like those guys would be down. And again, JJ Redick, wine guy as well too. Popovich. So Popovich is a wine guy with JJ Redick as an assistant. I don't know how that would go, chat, to be honest. I think JJ Redick respects Pop enough to be a good assistant on the team. But JJ Redick also, again, he wasn't an assistant for any coach in the league at the point. So he knew, I don't know if he was like long-term, hey, do I want to get into coaching? And this is the route, was that the play? Like, I can go through the media and then I don't really want to be an assistant. Like, I can be my own boss, build a business, and then if the coach thing does happen, then I can get back into the game this way. But if you're a coach, I guess you do have bosses and stuff at the end of the day as well too. Like, you work for Pelinka, you work for the buses, you work for LeBron. But again, he's got his own staff. He's still in a leadership role, chat. But if he were to be in the wine bottle team assistant role, I feel like Greg Popovich would be one of those coaches. He'd be like, okay, I get it. I could be an assistant coach for Greg Popovich, definitely. And once, Redick was in the media in that stretch here, mostly up until, we got Wemby this last year, where I don't know if Redick would have wanted to come coach the Spurs, to be honest. I don't know if he wanted to be on the Spurs side. Again, to be on Popovich, and if you're going to be a coach, if you're going to be mentored by anybody, I mean, that's probably a team that you'd want to just spend a little time on the bench with. But I don't know if he wants to be on a competitive team and part of a competitive staff as well, too. I don't know if our lineup necessarily would have been, the number 1 overall lineup for that goal. But it's still 11. So again, UConn hasn't managed to necessarily destroy South Carolina here. They can keep it reasonable with the last couple of minutes in the third quarter and then into the fourth. But do they have enough to actually close the gap? I mean, I guess they could. Could they go the Houston route, chat? It would honestly have to be a similar game, I think. Cryer had some big shots as well as Sharp in that game. And definitely, like we're saying, the star players definitely made big offensive plays. But it was that defense and the pressure and the creating of the turnovers that was able to help them get back in that game and then help them get over the top to win it at the end there. So it's really going to have to... Is it going to have to be just generational levels of defense from South Carolina here to end this game? That might be the only route, is to really mug it up like UConn. Speaking of 8 points in a quarter, like UConn's going to have just 8 points this quarter. And again, you go into the quarter down 12, I guess you would have to outscore them 20-8. So you would really have to have that dominant quarter. Again, Shad. They're just going to have it either way. But again, with the little bit of a cushion here, with 3 minutes left in the third, could they go into the fourth down like 7 or 8 points potentially? And then I guess if we're being technical about it all, like, momentum would be swinging in their direction as well too, going into the fourth quarter if that were to be the case. Or we get just that they cut it to 5, and then Strong just hits a half-court buzzer beater to end the third, and it's like back up to 8, and you're like, oh, all that work, and it still felt like we, gave up a little something at the end that we shouldn't pause. That, hey, yo, Chad, that maybe we wanted to. But 24 points now for the Lakers. Thunder at the free throw line. It's Aaron Wiggins. But, excuse me, chat. But again, they were going with Jalen Williams on Reeves there for a little bit, which has got to be a mind game thing from Dagnaw. Dagnaw obviously knows what he's doing a little bit too much, chat. Pause. He had that whole nerd corner rant in one of those post conferences about how he was subbing guys in and out versus Jokic, and how he was trying to make sure that Jokic doesn't, or somehow we get free time. I forget exactly. Again, that's why Dagnall's a better coach than this chat, but or even a coach at all, and we're not. But the rules that he knew in that situation, it's like, okay, that's one. We get why you're a really good coach, but two, that's also a little bit crazy that you're pulling out all these rules. So he could be playing mind games with the Lakers, and he could be potentially saying, hey, I'm not going to want Luka Doncic to see Jalen Williams on him in the regular season and then save that matchup for the big moments in the playoffs when we need it. But that's obviously the matchup that you think you'd go to, chat. Or I guess Jalen Williams on LeBron, if LeBron is cooking as well too in a game, and you feel like, okay, now it's like we just have to take LeBron out instead of anybody else, and LeBron is all of a sudden the main focus now, as if he's not one of the main focuses, chat. It's just him versus Luka Doncic, who's the absolute number one main focus on the team. But if you were able to shift that role at some point in a game, then maybe you throw Jalen Williams on it to kind of slow him down. But as your best perimeter defender with that size to match up against Doncic, you have to be saving that. Or even, for the fourth quarter of your own game here, but the way it was falling out of hand, and maybe he didn't feel like it was going to fall this out of hand. Because it's 24 points now with 3 minutes and 50 seconds left in the first half. Dort not able to get 3 to go. They got Wiggins, Shea, Dort, Hartenstein, and Jalen Williams out on the court. So they don't want to play Hartenstein and Chet. And I'm assuming the staggering of those minutes, especially in the first half here, is going to be, something that Dagnall is going to be leaning into, especially the last handful of the season. But, again, with Chet, his perimeter ability at the forward position, because, like we were saying, and the reason we brought up Jalen Williams as well, too, to mention he was on Reed, if you're going to be putting Jalen Williams on Doncic, then, you're going to have Dort on Reeves or something, Dort on LeBron, and then Shea on Reeves. Like, you still have good defenders for your perimeter players, but, or I guess, sorry, for the other way around, for the Lakers guarding the Thunder, like, they don't have the perimeter depth, and they're going to be focused a lot of it, like we were saying with Doncic and Reeves, that matchup versus Shea and Jalen Williams. So Chet is going to have the ability to operate against some of these other wings, because you might have to throw Dorian Finney-Smith on Jalen Williams at some point, and you might have to, focus him on Shea even. And Hachimura might be on Finney-Smith. So Hachimura is going to be, can he take Chet? Could Finney-Smith take Shea? And then could Doncic potentially take Jalen Williams on offense? That feels like Doncic getting cooked a little bit, honestly. So I don't know what your other... See, again, you got to really, I guess, hope LeBron can guard Jalen Williams in the playoffs. And then Doncic versus Aaron Wiggins, maybe? And is LeBron flopping? Is LeBron trying to draw a foul? What is happening, chat? Paige Becker's at the free throw line. 1:45 left in the third quarter. Uconn is up 13. And she's going for her second free throw here. So, did I say 13? Making it 18 after the make free throw. So only a minute and a half left in the third, chat. They've missed the chance to cut into it before the fourth. But could they get it back to normal? Back to that 11 to 12? Or is this where the floodgates truly opened? Are we going to see South Carolina's walk-ons in this game? Who knows? Maybe we would have seen it at one point either way. You know, Dawn Staley on the other side of this, her team dominating, and then she goes, okay, it's time to put in the crew. But maybe this is the other way around. Uconn dominating South Carolina, or Uconn, Gino. He's like, hey, it's time. You've done the work with the Gatorade bottles. Pause. You've done the work in the classrooms. It's time you log a couple minutes in the national championship game and have a memory you won't forget. The Lakers with almost a chance to go up by 30, except the Lakers hit a 3 and cut it back to 16, chat. 52 to 76. But they had a chance to take a 20-point, or excuse me, 20-point lead on OKC, which is insane. Or sorry, a 30-point lead. Even crazier, chat. A 30-point lead on OKC. We've got a combined lead of 50 points right now. Uconn is up 20, and LA was almost up 30 there for a second. So 78 to 52 right now. OKC with 52 points and a half is, you know, we're not talking about like all-time low stuff, obviously, but it does feel like for their season that is a little bit under from their ideal range. So, you know, is that pace? Is that just play? Who knows how they'll evaluate it in halftime, chat. But 54 to 78 as it stands right now, as Shea will get the last look. 8, 7, 6, chat. Can he cut this to 22? He gets into the lane, and he does. The midi goes. So I know I wanted them to cut it to like 8, but they cut it to 18. So the point that it looked like there for a second, that's maybe not the worst thing in the world. Can they overcome an 18-point deficit in the second half, chat? We will just have to wait and see. But can South Carolina overcome a 15-point, 16-point deficit in the fourth quarter of this one? I don't know if it's possible, chat. Sorry, Dawn Staley. Apologies to the South Carolina roster. I hate to be the one to say it, but somebody has to, chat. Somebody has to call it. Somebody has to just count them out. Free throw attempts for Uconn with a chance to go up 19. Sarah Strong, the double-doubles official, chat. 16 points, 14 rebounds is a great performance from one of the star players of the Uconn tournament. So they go back up 19 points with almost 40 seconds, 39.9, and the clock starts up and starts running. 40 seconds left, third quarter, down 19. South Carolina takes a quick 3, chat. A quick 3. They tried to go for the 2-for-1. They went for the math instead of the good basket. Is that the right move? Is that what Dawn Staley told him to do in that huddle, chat? It wasn't a, hey, we have a time. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Plenty of them, chat, to go around. But, you know, you're down 20 now. Missed free throw? Okay, that might be near not a foul. They're kind of arguing about it on the broadcast right now. Is Sue Bird the one taking the side of no foul? That aggressively of a run up on a defender is usually going to warrant something, and it's still in the same similar spot. Pause. Okay, so 20 points as the third quarter closes. It's not looking good for Dawn Staley, chat, but Paige, Beckers, and Gino might be bringing the first title back to Uconn in a couple of years. So are the Uconn fans greedy? Did it reset? Now they demand a new one? So Gino's like, okay, I'll get back to work, I guess. We'll assemble a national title team and we'll win the national title. It is what it is, chat. But shout out to all of our potentially happy happy fans of Uconn if they actually hold this thing out and potentially close out the national title game. But let's take a quick break before the fourth quarter fires up here, and we will be right back, chat. four-way of the national championship game. Of course, it's looking like Uconn is going to be the champions. Paige Beckers will get her ring chat. So, I mean, of course, on the performances as well, too, of some great role players. Like we were saying, Strong with the double-double. Fudd with 24 points on some crazy shooting, 3 steals as well, too. But the legacy of the career, of the totality of it, of even what we've seen throughout some of the games in this tournament. As you know, turns out she also had a couple of really good games in this tournament as well. That, of course, Paige Beckers will be a more notable figure from the team. And, you know, the WNBA stuff, of course, is all there, chat. And, I mean, as it really just points to, of course, how stacked Uconn is as a school. At this point, there's just new generations of fans. There's, with all due respect to Uconn legends of the past, probably more people that are, I guess we could check stats and go, we actually could look, but you think maybe impact as well, too, the way that the internet is even set up, like, with the rise, like, the internet just, well, does it work better now than it does back then, but does exposure time, I mean, we get it, chat, like, the amount of time that people on it, like, there's just more exposure to this Paige Beckers team and to her runs and to her career than maybe some of the other Uconn legends in the past. So her name value as well too, compared to some of the actual careers that, and again, I say her actual career, but some of the careers that these other Uconn greats have had, is just an interesting thing to look at. Because again, and like some of these teams are just crazy stacked. Only time will be able to tell how truly stacked from a WNBA standpoint this team truly was, chat. But again, we assume Paige is going to be a star talent in the WNBA. I don't know what they have on draft stock for Fudd right now, but we know Sarah Strong is a senior as well, or a freshman as well too. So as of right now, she won't be playing in the WNBA for a couple of seasons. She will have a Uconn run as well too to potentially establish her name. And it doesn't seem like Fudd is on the draft board, so is she another non-senior, chat, having a big win? Let's see here. Fudd is a senior. Okay. So let's get Fudd in the mix, chat. 13 a game this year. I don't know why she'd be off boards. Led the conference in 3-point percentage. 5'11". What is wrong, chat? What am I missing? Is this like the Walter Clayton of the, the WNBA side? And I guess, is Walter Clayton the Fudd, chat? Is it just the people that are being undervalued and having really good tournament performances? Because again, she's been fantastic in the efficiency, and to have, again, Strong and Fudd both being the second and third combo, like, I think we will probably look back and maybe say this team was stacked, chat, because that is crazy that Strong led the conference in field goal percentage. She led it in 2-point percentage and overall field goal percentage, and Fudd led the conference in 3-point percentage. And they were second and third in the team in scoring, both putting up really good numbers. So that does seem like actually pretty crazy and pretty high-level efficiency. And again, you got Beckers and her gravity and her playmaking. She led the conference in assists as well, too. I mean, you're assuming all these players are going to be at the top of the conference in their respective stats. But those, of course, I think help prove the overall legacy of maybe what this team was going for. Again, you look at this team as a 2 seed, maybe was a little strange for the tournament. I don't know, 3 seed in the AP. I don't know all the storylines, chat. So I don't know how the mathed out for that, I guess. But literally outside of that, they do check all the boxes. But again, speaking of stacked teams, like this Bird to Rossi broadcast duo, literally won the national title together as well, too, if I'm not mistaken, at Uconn. And I think they were definitely on a team with Swin Cash. It was definitely Bird to Rossi and Cash all together, but I don't know if they won the national title that year. So, are there NIT runs in here? Like, what happened, chat? What am I missing? They went 39-0 in 2000, 2001. Oh, so they did win the national title this year. So it just, for some reason, is not loading these tournament performances. 29-5 this year with Gino. Lost in the tournament, made the tournament. 30-3. Lost in the regional final. I think the year before that, though, they were undefeated. Oh, no, the year after that. They were undefeated. Yeah, won the national championship at 35-0. In 94, 95. As well, too, the OG Uconn logo. Kind of cool as well, too. Uconn, bring it back. But, what were we saying, chat? Oh, yeah, looking at the legends compared to Paige Beckers. Let's see if we can get like a leaderboard here for these players. I don't know if the points numbers is going to average out perfectly, but PER ranking is not bad either. Are we in career leaders? Okay, we're on season leaders. I think we... Oh, here we go. Don't even know the filters for the own basketball reference page, chat. Okay, Beckers is number 1 in career points per game at Uconn. So she is the best scorer in the history of Uconn, and 72-44. I mean, yeah, chat, they've literally... I mean, what the storylines that we were saying about Cooper Flagg and Duke all season, I mean, not that we weren't saying about Beckers. It's just Beckers and Uconn actually delivered. And, you know, again, not like a anti-Cooper Flagg type thing here. That could just be a big part of still experience in the college basketball landscape. And, you know, with the talent in the NBA projections, of course, with guys like Flagg versus Clayton, I mean, it's a debate. With the immediate impactful talent of it, you know, is Flagg still as good a player as Clayton, even if Flagg's a freshman? Yeah, but Clayton, as a senior and as a guy who's had tournament moments and as a guy who's been through the ups and downs of a college basketball career, is the guy that, you know, delivered. I don't know if it was motivation. Again, I don't know if it was those scars and he's just able to, you know, who knows what it is, chat. But you've got a veteran guy and you've got a guy in Cryer who's won a national title as a player at Baylor and then been a star on Houston for a little bit as well, too. Two just more experienced teams in the college basketball landscape. So, I mean, Beckers does have that in her favor compared to Flagg if we're just comparing the storylines and the situations. But Flagg maybe has a little bit of a better, like, are the 4, 5, 6 maybe of Duke a little bit better than Uconn? I guess it's a pretty close discussion, chat. But regardless, like, that's what we were talking about. The team is too good, the two ways, the defense, and then they have the star player that's going to be the generational pro talent. And Uconn is actually the one that went out, pretty much laid the smackdown every time. Dominant win after dominant win. Paige Beckers, great performances, fun and strong, awesome performances. But yeah, I guess she's the number 1 scorer in school history. Maya Moore at 19.7. I feel like that is more impressive. Yeah, she's number 1 in PER, chat. It's difficult not to say that on the court, that's the thing. It might be like the basketball players. If we're just looking at the player talent, I mean, like we said about Maya Moore as well, too. Her just 11-year career, if we're going the college to WNBA combination of it, is as good of an 11-year run as anybody had. But again, as the literal basketball talent of it, it's not even just the success and the stats that she put up. She was, I mean, of course, as good of a basketball player as we've seen. Like, she might be the best Uconn basketball player. I guess that's the discussion I think where Paige has a little bit more chance of winning, is like who's been the best player to play for Uconn, not like who was the best Uconn player, because I think Breanna Stewart probably, and I say probably because I just, you know, is there somebody in the 90s and earlier? I mean, obviously Lobo was great, but yeah, Stewart won 4 titles, chat. So what are we talking about here? 4 titles, 3 All-Americans. You know, just because she was maybe in a different role on this 12-13 team doesn't mean she wasn't impactful. She was still 13 a game and 50% from the field. 13 and 6 at 23 minutes a game. So it still started. Stum still was a major impact player off the end. I imagine 13 a game. Yeah, second or third in the team in scoring. Second in the team in scoring, chat. Behind Kalina Mosqueda Lewis and Stephanie Dolson. Kelly Ferris was also a double-digit scorer that year as well, too. So, yeah, was able to take this team to the national title, and then just her as a part of this team won the national title, and then 3 more national titles in a row with her as the best player. So she is probably the best legacy player from UConn, and I would say Maya Moore is the best basketball talent that has ever played for UConn. But Beckers is right up there, and she's 5th all-time in career PER. You've also got Collier from UConn, chat, and Tina Charles. I mean, whoa, chat, what are we talking about here? I mean, who has all made an All-American team for UConn? This is about to be crazy. Yeah, Maya Moore, Svetlana Ambrosmova, Paige Beckers, Tina Charles, Collier, Katie Lou Samuelson, Brianna Stewart, Diana Taurasi, Corey Walters, Stu Bird, Stephanie Dolson, Mariah Jefferson, Renee Montgomery, Kalina Mosqueda Lewis, Jennifer Rizzotti? Jennifer Riz, what? Nikisha Sales, Gabby Williams, Swin Cash, Aaliyah Edwards, Bria Hartley, Tiffany Hayes. I guess we've almost just read almost all the roster, all Americans at this point. But Sasha Jones, Rebecca Loba, Shay Ralph, Sarah Strong, Morgan Tuck, and then Megan Walker. So Lobo, I guess, only made 1 All-American team at her time there, and won 1 national title. Naismith Award, though, 2-time Big East Player of the Year, but just 1 national title. So it had a 19-point-a-game year this year, 19 and 11. 54% from the field. She was way better the year before she was an All-American. She still was great. 50% from the field, 17 and 10, and 3.5 blocks a game. But she was 19, 11, and 4, and almost 55% from the field. So what was UConn up to that year that she wasn't first or even second team All-American? And UConn was 30 and 3. Like, I just don't get it yet. Lobo, Elliott, Burberry, Walters, Rizzotti, Weber. Not like a lot of names that I say you would know from their WNBA performances as of right now, but from what she was able to do as just the pure basketball player of it as well too, I guess maybe she has a better chance in that conversation. But it's just difficult from a legacy standpoint for anybody to top what Brianna Stewart was able to accomplish at UConn. Maybe it is a little like Kareem-ish, Bill Walton-ish, where it's not like she just wiped UConn off the table. Like, well, we can't go to UConn anymore. There's no more legacy that we can gain from going to UConn. She's just neutralized the legacy from everybody there. So I don't think it's like that's totally happened, but you never know, chat. We could see an impact. The play-by-play on some of these games could start going crazy if it's just continues in the way that it has been. But the Thunder now down 17. I mean, as the third quarter gets underway, it's Reeves attacking, and just like we're saying, this Doncic can pick your poison, and then the secondary creators can work off of Doncic. They can work off of LeBron. Starters back in. Jackson Hayes is at least giving energy, and there's been some boxing out. There's been a couple, like we're saying, fouls drawn. So if it's just going to be Luka picking his poison, then like when he just decides to pass it and it's LeBron and Reeves and those guys are attacking, I mean, the pick your poison of just, well, then who's the second guy that we make? Who's the third guy? How do we game plan around Luke? It just magnifies, chat. So down 20, 9 minutes left in the third. What are the cutoffs, chat? We need to do an official NBA REMINGTOM pause, but come back cutoff. That's crazy, chat. That's wild. But I guess that's just what win probability is. But what is the cutoff for the Thunder are storming back? Oh, could the Thunder make this interesting? Maybe that's what it is. What's the cutoff for the phrases you can use when a team is making the comeback? Lakers respond right away, chat. 8 minutes left in the third quarter. It's Jalen Williams, Hachimura. No foul on Williams, though it did look like he generated the contact, but I'm just kind of used to, and shout out to Shea, but just so used to seeing guys maybe get that foul call. I'm surprised that, honestly, he didn't end up getting it. There's a poll right now about who is the best player of all time in college for women without a title. So you've got Lisa Leslie, Sylvia Fowles, Nneka Ogwumike, Kelsey Plum, Sabrina Ionescu, and Caitlin Clark. Wow, chat. Caitlin Clark was obviously in a national title game. I don't know if Sabrina was ever in a national title game, but Paige would have been on that list, I guess, up until right now. And again, at least she had been in it in the past as well, too, so I don't know if that would have given her a legacy advantage over some of these names that we just mentioned. But I forget if some of those later Sabrina teams, what kind of playoff run they ended up making. Oh, 1920, that's right. Sabrina got canceled the 1 year her team, well, I guess her team was good the year before that too, but the 1 year that they were like the best team in college basketball, everything just shut down and we didn't get seen in the tournament. Who was number 1 in the AP when it did shut down? Oh, of course, chat. How could we doubt South Carolina in Dawn Staley in a moment like that? But for Sabrina, they did make a Final Four against Baylor, it looks like. And then outside of that, yeah, not a lot of other at least national title appearances for, oh, and I guess she's off the team at this point. But Ogwumike, did she have any national championship appearances? Was she Stanford, chat? The sisters going to Stanford? I was almost going to say twins, but I don't think they are twins, chat. Is Nneka Ogwumike, is she definitely the younger one? And is Chene the older one? I'm not sure. But again, you see the efficiency from her as well, too, from 2-point range. And leading the conference in scoring for 3 consecutive seasons. As a freshman, she played 21 minutes a game, so she was out there. Played 38 games. Played in all 38 games, I guess, in the regular season. And didn't necessarily have a bad field goal percentage. There was a couple of tough shots to have him listen back to, but or whatever, chat. But 82-53 is pure domination from Gino, from Paige. Gino gets his 12th title now. How many did Phil Jackson end up having? Phil Jackson has he has the 11, right? He has 6 and 5, 6 with 6 with Michael, 5 with Kobe, and then was he on those Knicks teams that won the finals in the 70s? I don't remember if he was, chat. Or was Phil Jackson ever on the Lakers as a player? I feel like he would have. He was definitely on the Knicks as a player. I remember that, but I don't remember if he had a Lakers run, and I don't remember if he had a Knicks run in one of that 60s teams or maybe the 70 team that ended up winning a couple of titles. The Knicks didn't win back-to-back, but they did win twice. Yeah, 2-time NBA champ, so he has 13 NBA rings as an NBA player and as an NBA head coach, which, make no mistake, is absolutely crazy, chat. I don't know what the Steve Kerr final count is. Steve Kerr has like 3 rings and 3 rings, and he might have like 9 or 10 rings. Might be right in that range. Paige, overwhelmed with emotion, chat. 30 points is the margin. I guess they'll hit a couple free throws here and cut into that. But we get the walk-ons. We get the bench. We get the transfers and the subs. And we get massive congratulations for Paige Beckers. But yeah, you get Phil Jackson at 13 rings total. So Gino is still catching Phil Jackson, I guess. But he's definitely a lot closer. But yeah, I guess if we were, and again, the ranking the on the court Uconn player aspect of it is, you know, such a different conversation than the actual full careers as well too. And it does, I feel like, have a lot of overlap. Like, is Breanna Stewart really going to get knocked down the list? But it's just, again, like, I guess you don't start working that WNBA part of it into it, I guess, for the legacies of these people. It just, again, helps solidify, looking back, kind of what that talent ultimately became. But I mean, she has a bunch of the just individual scoring records as well too. I know she had, you know, the most points in a span, a lot of it as well too, in that one massive like 50-point performance game, which is not like a takeaway. It's just that was one of the performances that helped elevate her into that historic playing territory. So again, she's right in the mix with all those people. I don't know if you could say that there is a better basketball player, because her size as the guard as well too, like that's the Maya Moore part of it, and that's, you know, the Taurasi part of it as well too, is, and you know, like the Luka LeBron stuff we're saying, that the bigger wing-ish perimeter creators, like she is a wing almost in the, and I guess I'm not like, again, a perfect WNBA expert, but it does seem like she borderlines on a wing versus, you know, just a pure guard. 0.1 second left. I guess I didn't see what the formality was here. Oh, it was just shot clock violation, I guess, at 0.1 is crazy. There we go. See it, or your social media team will see it, but IT will send it off anyways. So, wow, chat. Uconn 37-3. I mean, once again, the season, it narrows down to Dawn Staley and Uconn. Wrench in that for a second and was causing chaos. Angel Reese winning a national title in there as well too. But the coaches at the top, it's back to normal. This year, the star player was Paige Beckers. Like we're saying, in the past, it was Aaliyah Boston. It was Cardosa. It was Cook. It was South Carolina's time. But not right now, chat. Gino is back. And for the first time in nearly 10 years, I guess, is it actually the 10th season? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 10th season, but the 9th tournament, I guess, technically didn't have that tournament for COVID. So, you know, 15, 16 to 5, 6, I guess, would look like next year would be the 10th year. But yeah, 10 full. This would be the 10th season played for I guess this would have been the 10th season played. Now it'll be 9 seasons because this one will bold out, chat. We're catching up, don't worry. And this one will be the actual national title game. But I guess that's the longest run that Gino has had since winning these national titles, that he was able to get this one. And again, like the injuries to Beckers, who knows how that affects the overall storylines of Gino and that stuff. But, and not to say that he hasn't had other formidable coaches to go up against. I mean, you know, Dawn Staley is clearly, obviously, an all-time head coach. There have been other all-time head coaches that he's taken down in the past. Pause. But back in the driver's seat with the belt, I think. And like we're saying, not like forever, you know, better coach than Dawn Staley. We're just saying, you know, right now he has the belt as the number one coach of college basketball, but he also had the best players, so maybe he should have won. He had the better team. Maybe South Carolina playing with this team is, still impressive getting to the national championship game. And emotions are high for Gino right now. Is this retirement? Wouldn't be surprised. I guess I'm not recalling an announcement made in the offseason, at some point or in the season that this would be like a retirement run. But maybe he's just really, again, the release chat, pause, the tension buildup of 9 years of not winning a title. It's just like, oh, overcome with emotion. I can't believe it. It's been so long, chat. It's like, well, this is what normal life is like for most people, Gino. We don't win titles every 3, 4, 5 years in a row. It's not how it works. I mean, you win 4 national titles in a row, you got to take a break. You got to take it. And again, they break. See, that's really what it was, chat, is the, I guess, karmic reset of it was they won 4 national titles in a row. You got to at least lose 4 in a row, but that COVID tournament, they couldn't lose 4 in a row, so they had to reset and lose 4 tournaments in a row before winning a national title again. So who knows if Gino goes back to like maybe every other couple. Again, I don't know what the long term is. Again, this is a insane run for our guy here at this school, but awesome stuff, chat. You love to see that on either side of this game, there would have been awesome storylines for each person. But I do also feel like I am a little biased toward Lobo as well too, chat, for the career stuff for Uconn. I don't know if it's having her on the broadcast for a lot of these big college basketball games, if we're just like subconsciously like, yeah, Lobo is like top 5 Duke player or Uconn player. So Stewart is first in the box plus minus. Beckers, Collier, Gabby Williams, Mariah Jefferson, Katie Lou Samuelson, Kalina Mosqueda Lewis. Is it Kia Stokes or Kaya Stokes, chat? And then Morgan Tuck and Dorka Juarez, chat, at number 10 as well too. So still, definitely Stewart and Beckers. And again, it's like all the stats would say that it's basically those 2 players at the top. Maya Moore with some of the scoring stuff. And I guess like we're saying the PER. Maya Moore not 10 and box plus minus is a little kind of crazy. What are we looking at for that, chat? Let's get a little double check on what that stat would be for Maya Moore. Oh, I guess they just didn't really keep it, maybe, for the first couple years that she was in. So they started keeping the stat in 2010, 2011. And she had a plus minus of 16.2. She led the conference in literally defensive and offensive box plus minus. And she's the career all-time leader in win shares for women. That's crazy, chat. I don't know where the win shares per 48, I guess, ranks amongst those things. But for the school itself, that would be, number 1, I would say probably pretty easily. Tina Charles, number 2, Brianna Stewart, Collier, Williams, and Beckers. So Collier's got to be, of course, in the mix. And I mean, she was in the WNBA finals this year. Again, we look back and think, and 3-time All-American, I guess. I just need to refresh on the college resume, chat, and say, won national title in 15-16 as a freshman. I guess that's a tough one for her as well too, because did she have the title as the best player the way Beckers did? That list, chat, that they had for, well, I guess she can't be on that list for best players without a ring, because she does technically have a ring. But again, it's like, what is the way that you want to win it? I mean, it's fantastic. She played 17 minutes a game, and I guess just because she's scoring like 5 rebounds, a block and a half in 17 minutes, like she's gonna find a way to be impactful out there. She's still efficient, still giving you good minutes in the front court. But as she really steps up the scoring and moves into the All-American role, this was unfortunately a couple of years that Uconn team was just not quite able to pull it together. So I think Beckers would probably be over Collier in the legacy rankings, even if it's looking close on some of the stats, chat. Let's double check Tina Charles here as well, too. Again, just another absolute legend. Oh, Sports Reference, chat. The Uconn traffic right now is so crazy that it's just on an absolute overload. Oh, chat. We're having technical difficulties. The Sports Reference. There we go. Finally redirects. Former #1 overall pick in 2010. You see the glimpse of the stats, chat, but you got an All-American, first team her senior year, second team her junior year, and third team her sophomore year. So she slowly worked her way up every All-American team, increased her scoring, increased her play every single year. Great defensive presence as well, too. So, peak Tina Charles is 18 and 2.5 blocks that last year. Maybe last season Tina Charles was right up there with best. 2 years, 62% from the field, 17 and 9 and 2 blocks a game. I mean, that's a pretty crazy player, chat. That's got to be right in the mix. And again, 2 national titles as nearly the best player team. Who else would have been on this 08-09 on these Connecticut? Can be advanced in the mix. Also, Tina Charles played with Maya Moore. Okay, so that's the full team, chat. And Tiffany Hayes as well, too, a freshman on this lineup. And Maya Moore, sophomore. I mean, Renee Montgomery. How could we leave her out as well, chat? I feel like we got to mention that. But, yeah, I guess she's not going to get the same sort of legacy notoriety because she's playing with, arguably, again, the best just basketball player in Uconn history. But there was a little bit of, different kind of overlap there. Maya Moore, at least 1 year apart. So Maya Moore would have had the junior, or what, was she a sophomore that year? I guess because we were looking at her second season there for a second. Not that third national title. Gabby Williams would have overlapped with this Collier team as well too, but did get 2 national titles early on as well. So who all was on these teams as well? Do we just have to rule out these non-title teams? 36-1, chat, and this is the team that unfortunately lost to Mississippi State. Wow. Collier, Katie Lou Samuelson, Gabby Williams, Kia Nurse, Sonia Chong, Crystal Dangerfield's a freshman, Natalie Butler, not getting WNBA run apparently, but still impactful in this lineup. And imagine losing 1 game all year by 4 points, chat. That's crazy. I mean, look at even the performances before that, absolutely dominant. Like, I used that winning over 15 by UCLA is like, oh, is that kind of close? 15 points? Oh, well, what went wrong? It was only 15. So that team is basically an historic team that got upset. And then 36-1 the next year, chat. I mean, it is totally unfair. And again, you're getting beat on buzzer beater shots here. Notre Dame and Agumbawale. And I don't remember what the sequence of events was that... I guess they just hit another buzzer beater, chat. Who hit the buzzer beater in this Mississippi State game? Will I remember? Was it Vivian's? I don't... Oh, chat. Is there a play-by-play? And then they lost to Dawn Staley in South Carolina later on. We're piecing together a history, chat. It is what it is. They don't have a play-by-play result on here. That's tough. I guess we could go look up the highlights, but we'll go do that afterwards, chat, and I guess freshen up on the knowledge then. But Yeah, this is almost unfair to leave these teams out because just in terms of the record and the literal on the paper stats and record of the team is arguably this Collier team with her and Gabby Williams is more successful than Paige Becker. I mean, I guess the tournament runs are about the same, but the regular season records for these two Uconn teams, and then 35-3. I guess that's where Paige Becker's is at, way behind the Nafisha Collier teams of those previous 2 years. But again, just the overall record here is crazy. Just unfortunately, again, a matchup loss. And was that Agumbawale again? 2 years in a row taking down Notre Dame. Unbelievable, chat. Unbelievable. It's why it's proved her star level talent. And then Baylor winning on I think this was a Mulkey title. Was this a Mulkey title? Yeah, chat. 37-1. Unbelievable. Who is their one loss? Is this game going to go in the rewatch? We might have to throw some of these games in the watch list. They lost to Stanford by 5. Okay. I didn't know if there was a Uconn showdown in there. There was, chat, which they did win in dominant fashion a little bit. 11 points. Not necessarily steamrolling them, but pulling away in the fourth quarter a little bit with a 7-point game there. But this would be a good one to look because you got Collier, 6 of 18 from the field. It's not like the best Uconn game. I guess 29% is not going to be the most fun to go back and rewatch, not necessarily, but you do get a good scale of, I think, matchups. Yeah, Kalani Brown and Dee Richards, Chloe Jackson facing off against this Uconn team would be a good try to get a sense of what that team is. And again, it's a regular season thing. Like UConn's 2 of their 3 losses this year, they've got to Baylor, the literal national title. They lost to Notre Dame in the Final Four. And then what was their other loss here? So that's crazy, chat. I mean, Collier is really... this is about as close as you can get right here to being... And not that she, I guess we're saying... She is in legendary status for UConn. But just for laying out the arguments, this is about as close as you can get. So, yeah, lost to Baylor. And then lost to number 3 Louisville. 79-78 as well, too. They lost at Louisville and lost at Baylor. So I guess they just got, again, a little unlucky that some of those matchups were at home. And they played Notre Dame at Notre Dame. So they went on the road for basically all of their out-of-conference top 10 matchups. Still managed to only lose the one to the team that ended up being the national title. 8 at the time, but again, this is literally the best team in college basketball, as we find out. And they do end up taking down Notre Dame in good fashion as well, too, earlier in the season. So Collier is a sneaky, just top 5 drafting. I guess she's not like a sneaky drafting UConn people because she's going to be high up on the board, but maybe where she's at on the board is a couple spots lower than, especially her with the star players aspect of it is definitely something that could unlock her in a different role. I mean, some easier matchups. Collier with easier matchups, chat, because it's a legendary team, is going to destroy whoever is out there defensively. There's really nothing that they can do to avoid it, unfortunately. But let's see here. Who else did we have to go through? Collier, pause. Brittany Hunter. Who else was here, chat? Oh, scroll down real quick. Kalina Lewis, Tuck, Katie Lou Samuelson, like we're saying, also on that team as well, too. So, again, I guess those advanced stats are going to favor the newer players to try to get some older legends in here. Carrie Bascom, 87 to 90, 1990, 3-time Big East Player of the Year, 3-time All Big East, of course. I guess a WBCA All-American. I don't know where that ranks in the hierarchies of All-Americans, but entering the fourth quarter here, the Lakers have continued their dominance in the game as well, too. It's 105 to 79. So I guess shout out to Carrie Bascom. Of course, she's in the mix. It's not displaying any national titles here for UConn, so this would have been, potentially these early days. A couple of first round exits, maybe, unfortunately, for these UConn teams. And then they get Rebecca Lobo in 91-92, Chet. And like I'm saying, she really, I think, is the first UConn star. I don't know if I'm totally accurate in saying that, but it's not like there was a ton of years in UConn history there before that. I mean, I think we can literally just scroll back here to the beginning of UConn history in a couple of clicks. It will not be, well, it's going to end up being farther away than I thought. But once we get out of Gino, it's like 4 seasons. Yeah, so, and, again, they're on the rise. Maybe there is somebody on the roster, again, not displaying WNBA stuff. The team was 9 for 20 and 9 for 18, so I don't know if the scouts were necessarily at the game. But if they had been, and if they had gotten a shot, maybe there would have been another WNBA talent. But you see Gino, 12 and 15, 14 and 13, still not really able to recruit the... And I guess you don't even really have... We've got to mention you also don't really have the WNBA at this point, so that wouldn't be a fair thing to look at. That's why the icon wouldn't be displaying, stupid. But you do have the center here, Renee, with 18 and 10 in her senior year. Oh, Chad, so we're talking transfers, we're talking modern day and how people can go wherever they want. I know she missed a season as well too, so she had to do it, pause old school style, but we got a transfer here. South Carolina to UConn. Back in the day, I don't know what the circumstances were, I guess, necessarily. Who knows, chap, but she was 2-time All-Big East as well. So I guess we don't want to necessarily say first star and, like we're saying, discredit some of these players from these teams, even if the win-loss thing hadn't quite added up the same way. But 88-89, they win the Big East regular season and the Big East tournament. And Carrie Bascom leads the team with 23 points a game. So I guess Carrie Bascom, we should say, is the first sort of real Duke star player in a real way. Shannon Saunders, Christian Caruso, 11.9. Laura Lishness, 10.1 points per game that year. I guess, unfortunately, they lose in the first round of the tournament. As an 8 seed, so an 8-9 matchup, they lose to LaSalle. Yikes, that doesn't sound very much like Gino. LaSalle is 18th overall in the country, though. Tracy Sneed, 18 and 7. Jennifer Snyder, 12 points. Sheila Wall, basically 12 points a game that year as well, too. And they got bounced bad by Kentucky in the next round by 30, it looks like. So you got Bascom. Yeah, 23 and 8 for Bascom as a forward is actually kind of crazy numbers. So, yeah, again, she wouldn't have the WNBA thing, but as a 4 versus a 5 seed, they lost the next year in 80-89. I guess I don't know how many teams are in the tournament as well, too, overall. But lost by 2 points to Clemson. Didn't win the Big East tournament. Won it the next season, but lost the national semifinals to Virginia. And it's Bascom again in her senior year. Getting to a couple national title games, absolutely. Awesome performances, big games. I'm sure if we went back and watched, we'd be so highly impressed, chap. But, I mean, just in the conversation of it, didn't get that last accolade that avoided her. And then, yeah, they immediately the next season bring in Rebecca Lobo, the freshman. And now, she's going to become the building block superstar. But, I guess I can't really compare games and say it's going to be a different look, different style. But, now you get your real, especially with the WNBA merging and with the way that maybe that shifts who knows the perspective, where these people go. Just who knows, Chad. She is the first one that is able to break them through in a real big competitive way. Losing as a 6 seed to Louisville in the first round of the tournament is kind of a tough look in 1992-1993 season. But you've got Kelly Rose with 27 points. Is Kelly Rose a basketball name? Who knows, chat. But Maddox Christian, 16 points with 5 for 13 field goal shooting. and the 3-point shooting was basically all just the one player. It's basically just Knox, which is he's going to be the one that, or they're going to be the one that's firing up threes. But yeah, you would have had that loss to Uconn in that 1 year, and then Big East tournament, regular season, 30-3 the next year is the first. This is like probably like the first top 5 dominant season that Gino is really having. National title, they've got 3 WNBA players on the roster. You just see some of the stats as well too, an uptick from, I guess, outside of Bascom, what they were getting in those performances. And then unfortunately you lose to a number 3 seed North Carolina in the tournament, which does go on to win the national championship this year against number 4 seed Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. Who was on this team? Vicki Johnson, Deborah Williams, and LaShawn Brown. 3 WNBA names. Shout out. Vicki Johnson. I know that Vicki Johnson definitely sounds like a name I've heard for WNBA talent. I'm just not necessarily recalling the Vicki Johnson career with great detail right now, chat. But, Charlotte Smith, Marlon Jones, Sylvia Crowley on this UNC team that ended up winning the national title, as they were ranked 5th in the final AP poll, and UConn was ranked 3rd in the final. I guess they ranked end of the season, not necessarily the end of the playoff AP poll. But 94-95, this is when they win their first national title, chat. 35-0, they storm through everybody. 75-105 over Maine, 91-45 over Virginia Tech, 87-56 over Bama, 67-63 over Virginia, 87-60 versus Stanford, and 70-64 versus Tennessee. So this Virginia game might be one, like we're saying. This might go. Slap it on the rewatch, chat. See what happens when, I guess, there's a slow night for the live games and there's no movie that we're in the mood to watch. But yeah, you got Lobo only with 8 in this game. They did ultimately get the win, which is the important part. And 6 blocks, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. Like, still a majorly impactful player. And you get Rizzotti and Walters combining for 36 as well too. Elliott putting up 12 on top of that. I mean, almost everybody in double digits except for Weber, and she only took 2 shots. So even if she was perfect from the field, there was, I guess, free throws, but there's just really no way for her to accomplish that. So that could be a good game to go back and rewatch. And then, of course, the national title versus Tennessee, I'm sure, is an iconic game. Yeah, I was thinking Pat Summitt as the head coach. Pat Summitt versus Dino. Dino versus Gino. Gino is the one that coaches the Nikki McCray, Tiffany Johnson, a freshman, Tiffany Woolsey, a senior on this team as well too, that ends up going and having a WNBA. Once you bring in Lobo, and actually let's look and see what Lobo performed in that national title game. Because if she had a big time performance in a big spot like that, I feel like that would definitely, of course, help raise her stock in this type of legacy rankings. 17 in the national title game, 5 of 10, 17 and 8, 2 blocks is not bad balance. But again, Rizzotti and Elliott both played so well that I don't think you can necessarily be mad either if they had hypothetically ended up getting it. Also, I don't know, actually ended up getting it, but pause. But yeah, then you go Lobo, and then I think, like we said, mid-90s at that point. So you're a little bit before you start getting into some of the modern stars. But Rizzotti on the team looks like after she left. Walters, Rita Williams, Paige Sauer, the freshman, as well too. 31-1, not able to win a national title. 33-4, not able to win a national title. Nikisha Sales is now all of a sudden added to the team. Let's see, 29-5 in 98-99. Stefania Ambrose-Movia, and I think we looked this team up the other night as well too. But yeah, this one had Swin Cash on it. And that's what I was saying earlier when comparing this team to the other teams in the past is this team, like that, those teams had, there's that one team with Tarasi, Swin Cash, and Sue Bird. So it's like, you know, obviously that's 3 Hall of Famers in the same team. Will this Uconn team go down in a team with 3 Hall of Famers? But it doesn't matter, chat. The dominance that they had today was championship level. It was top-notch, all-time stuff. So shout out to Paige Beckers. Shout out to Gino for locking down another national title. And shout out to the Uconn Huskies and the Uconn Husky fan base for 3 years in a row now getting a ring back on this year. So again, I know the title drought for Gino himself has been a strong, continues just on the basketball side of the sports. That's the great thing about having a school like UConn like that, where it's like, okay, I guess either year we could be in the national title game either way. But yeah, 20 points a game the full career, 53%, 42% from the field is crazy. 60% effective field goal percentage for a career full, 3.5-ish, 3 3/4 years, chat, is actually pretty insane. I'm not going to lie. Where is that ranked at real fast? That's, I guess, the last thing we need to look at is effective field goal percentage. And then we'll officially have made up our mind. Oh, well, chat. Oh, here it is. Career Big East. She is, what did it say, 8th? For the career for the Big East, I know maybe some of the bigs are going to be favored here. Some of the around the rims. Tamika Williams, Ruth Riley, Walter, Cora Walters, Shay Ralph, Katrina Gaither, Tina Charles, Stephanie Donaldson, Paige Beckers, Mia Moore, and Aaliyah Edwards. So there it is, chat. Shout out to the Huskies. Shout out to the 2025 Women's National Champions. They've been crowned, and they will have the belt for the next year until we get to March Madness again for that side. But we've got one more game to go in March Madness. Tomorrow night, chat. Florida versus Houston. Live, the REMINGTOM podcast. We'll be back. Make no mistake, we've made it this far from March Madness, and we are not missing that one either. So tune in. The madness continues. We will be live tomorrow night to see who actually gets to take home the crown. It won't be Duke. So this whole time we've been going live to watch Duke win the national title, and it turns out that's actually not going to be the case. It's going to be either Florida or Houston win the national title, and we will be live to react to it. So again, shout out to South Carolina as well too, and that team and Dawn Staley for an impressive season. But right now, it's time for Paige Beckers and Gino to celebrate as champions. And I guess, do we have to go? Well, I guess we can't really celebrate as champions. We're not UConn fans, but we can pretend to celebrate. We can celebrate as non-champions. We can celebrate something, chat. We'll cook up something to celebrate here and try to go have a good time. You guys do the same. Join us again tomorrow night, like I was saying, and thanks for jumping on with us and hanging today.